How about this? This is episode 159 of Ron's Update podcast. It's been 3 years since I put out an episode of this podcast. I think it was in something like November of 2021, I guess, and I haven't put one out since. I do have another podcast that I've been putting out episodes periodically, but this one has been dormant for a long time. So I thought maybe I would just crank it back up and see how things go. This is allegedly a run, walk, bike podcast, and I haven't been doing much biking for a while, so it might be a run, walk podcast for a minute or two here. Let's see what all's been going on for the past 3 years. Well, the same old stuff. I guess last time I probably recorded was right after COVID hit. And I never caught COVID the whole time until this year in June, just before the Peachtree Road Race. So I went all that time and never got COVID. And I didn't really get it that bad. I mean, I felt like crap for a month, but as far as being sick, no, I really wasn't sick. I was just really no energy, no taste, stuff like that. But as far as being, I heard horror stories about people not being able to breathe and all that kind. I didn't have any of that, none of that. And maybe it's because of years and years of running and having a semi-base of some kind of fitness. Plus, I did take a vitamin D and K2 supplement the whole time, which probably helped a lot. Anyway, let's get back. I guess there's no sense trying to go back for 3 years to come up with what I've been doing other than my basic normal stuff. So I'll just go with this year and probably start right around before I had COVID. I had run some trail races, not very many. I haven't run many races at all in the past couple of years. But anyway, I always run Peachtree, and this was going to be my 46th, in that range, 46, 45, I can't keep up anymore. But anyway, I was going to run, let's say 46, okay? And I had registered, and I had been talked into volunteering at the start line of Peachtree this year. And if you do that, whatever group that you are volunteering for, you can start with. So I had volunteered for group A, okay, which is the first group after the seated and sub-seated runners. which meant that I was going to be able to start the race pretty close to up front, even though I've slowed so bad from old age, right? And I was kind of excited about that, and that's when I caught COVID, just before Peachtree. I caught it like right around the 13th of June, and I didn't get over it until like the middle of July. So I kept hoping that I would recover enough that I would be able to volunteer and run the race. And then I realized that since my training was shot, there was no possible way I was going to be able to run at all. And I said, well, maybe I can just volunteer. And then it turned out that the logistics of going down there and volunteering was just going to, since I had no energy, just wasn't going to get it. So I had to contact the volunteer coordinator and let him know that I wasn't going to be able to make it, but I would like to go ahead and put my name in for next year ahead of time. And that's what I did. He said, okay, he'd look forward to me doing it next year, and I just didn't run. So it's the first year that I actually did not start for Peachtree. There was 1 year, see, I started running Peachtree in 1978, and I missed 1 year, like 1983, in that range, because I didn't register in time and the race closed out, so I didn't get to run. But every year since then, I have run Peachtree, and I have never registered and then not run it. So this year I was registered, and I couldn't show up to the start line, so it was a did not start. So it's the first time I actually was registered and didn't run the race. And I was kind of disappointed in that, but that's the way it goes when you're ill. So anyway, I recovered from COVID about the middle of July, I guess, and I started walking and trying to get my fitness back, and I was really, I tried to run, and it was really slow. I mean, I was doing 16-minute pace, you know. It was just sad. So I thought, well, if I do start running, I'm just going to start running on the trail, because trail running's a little bit slower than they're out on the street anyway. So I started doing that, and I got going fairly decent. And one day I was running over at Stone Mountain on the trail, and I crossed the covered bridge heading to Indian Island, which is a little island that's out in the lake at Stone Mountain. And the trail loops around that island, and so I can do like a loop and then come back across the covered bridge back to and continue running on the trail. So I was going to do that. Well, just as I got across the covered bridge and started heading into the woods, I tripped on either a rock or a root or something, but I hit both knees on whatever it was. It was probably roots, because it was, it was massive. I tore my right knee up really bad, and my left knee not so bad, and my right palm and thumb really bad, but not my left one that bad. And I hit my head also, I guess, on a rock, and got a big gash on my forehead, or above, into my hairline anyway. And I had to walk about a mile or two back to my car bleeding, and I'd go by people and they'd go into shock. It was like they asked me, "Do you need help?" And I go, "Well, no, I'm just going back to my car." So I went home and I put bandages on and all this stuff and everything, and I thought I'd be okay, but it wouldn't stop bleeding. I mean, just oozing. So I went to the ER at the local hospital, and they patched everything up, and they gave me a CAT scan to see if I guess, got a concussion from hitting my head and all that stuff, and I didn't. So I got all bandaged up, but when I came back from the hospital, I had a big bandage around my head. I had one around my right knee. I had bandages on my left knee. I had my right hand wrapped up. Looked like I'd really torn it up bad. Well, I did tear it up bad, but I mean, it was just, I couldn't even hardly use my right hand. It was taped up so bad. And I had to put up with that for a couple of weeks while it healed. And I've still got a fairly bad scar on my palm and on my thumb. And my thumb's kind of numb right where that wound was. But anyway, so I determined that maybe I'll just skip running on trails for a while, and if I want to head on the trail, I'll just walk. I'll do some trail walking instead of trail running. So I've been doing my running on the pavement at various places around here. I have two parks. Well, I actually have three parks that are about I'd say within 2 miles of my house, and one park's north of me, and then two parks are kind of south of me. And I alternate between those parks and my running plus going to Stone Mountain. And I've been doing a 5K plan just to give me some motivation to keep moving. And so none of my runs have been long. They've been roughly around, during the week, 2 miles each time I run, and on the weekends a little bit longer. But I'm running time and not distance. So the daily runs during the week are usually in the 30 to 35 minute range, and on the weekends they can be like 40 minutes to an hour. So we're not talking long distance, okay? And I'm trying to be fairly consistent with that. This past week, we had a hurricane come through here, the one that hit Florida and South Georgia and tore things up bad, Helene or whatever its name was. Well, it came right east of my house, but living up in northeastern Georgia, it was pretty well blasted by the time it got up here. I think the high winds were in the 40s, the gusts. So really mostly all it turned out to be where I lived was just a massive rainstorm, about 5 to 7 inches of rain over a 2-day period. And it didn't tear anything up. Down in Florida and South Georgia, it did a lot of damage, and I think it even, just the rain portion of it, I think it messed up places up in North Carolina, maybe even western South Carolina. But where I live, all we've had is like flood warnings, but I never ran into any excessive water as far as flooding or anything. So those 2 days when it was really pouring down rain and the weather was bad, the one day I rode my bike trainer on Zwift in Watopia for about 11.4 miles. I rode the, what's the name of that ride? TikTok on Watopia. If anybody knows anything about Zwift, I've got all these different worlds that you can ride in. Watopia, Scotland, England, Japan, Richmond, Virginia. They have different courses, and it's really a good app. So I rode in Watopia on Thursday. Friday I just took the day off, and then today is the 28th of September, and I rode in Scotland, a rolling hills ride in Scotland, and that's up to date for now. Tomorrow I've got an hour run planned, and hopefully I can be consistent. And I'm signed up for a trail race at Chattahoochee Point on the 12th of October. And the only reason I signed up for that particular trail race, it is a trail race, but it's not in the woods where it's got a lot of rocks and roots. It's a lot of gravel type trail out in, it used to be farmland, so it's more like pasture land with trail through it. So it's open fields mostly, except when it curves around and comes over by the Chattahoochee River, you kind of go into trees, but the trail itself isn't rocky and rooty. And so I thought, well, I'll run that, and it's only a 5K trail race. It's got two races. It's got a 10K and a 5K. The 5K is one loop of the course, 10K is two loop of the course. So I'm just doing the one loop. So I just did that for participation. I'm not really gonna worry about how good I do. Of course, I'll try to do as good as I can, but knowing that my training has really been crap, I'm just gonna go and run and enjoy myself. If I'm in the very back of the pack, that's just the way it is. So I don't know how consistent I'm going to be with this podcast, but I'll try to do a little bit better than every 3 years. How about that? Does that sound okay? So I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to today's podcast. We'll be here next time. Keep the emails coming in and be sure to subscribe.